Hello, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of She Means Well. We today are joined by a special guest, Miss Elly Ludlow, Eliana Ludlow.
Yes, that's me.
Do you go by Eliana or Elly?
My mom's mad that I don't go by Eliana, but I usually go by Elly.
Okay.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
That makes me feel better because I feel like that's what I kept referring to you as. And then I'm like, wait, do you go by Eliana now?
So I've always just known you as Elly.
Yeah.
The last time I saw you, I was probably 10 years old. I seriously haven't seen you since we were probably both wearing tights.
On
Tights running
You know
around
what I
church.
mean?
Yes,
Just
probably
wreaking havoc.
Like,
Sweaty.
yes, absolutely.
So Elly and I, we went to the same church growing up. Her dad's church, my family used to go there. And it seriously has been so long since I've seen you.
Yeah.
This is
It's
fun.
been ages, decades,
Yeah.
honestly.
Cool.
Actually?
And how do you know Elly?
Well,
Eliana, I'm sorry.
no, Elly.
Elly. I'm nervous.
Names are always the great debate because I always refer to Abigail as Abby. And now it's like been an issue because I'll talk about her in person to people and I'll say Abby and then she introduces herself as Abigail. Anyway, it's been this whole confusing thing and now people are like,
Like, call me Phil. I don't care.
well, I met Elly after you and because Jordan, my boyfriend, went to their church as well. So, but you were also really little when I first met you.
It's true.
You were like going to dance class and stuff.
Yes. Doing all the recitals.
Yes.
Still in tights.
Still in tights. So over the last year or so, I've just been seeing you post on Instagram and you took a detour than what's the normal path after high school or even still in high school. And you'll have to clarify. But you've been on this whole big long trip and I just really feel like it's something that is unique and that the listeners would love to hear and be inspired by. And just, we want to hear about your trip. So will you explain even what you did?
Yeah, so basically, I went on a 50-state tour across the entire nation, and the whole goal of this was to preach the gospel to our generation, and like where people have said that, you know, our generation is suicidal and depressed and all that. We're like, no, like there's a greater answer, there's a greater cause. So it was last summer that I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing after high school. Like nothing was sparking my interest.
So you graduated June and you're like, okay, what do I do now?
I actually graduated 2024 June.
Okay.
So, but
Oh.
so then last summer I was like, but like trying to think because everyone knows what they're doing after senior year.
Don't you hate that question? What are you
Oh,
doing after high
yes.
Which
school?
is terrible because
Yeah.
it's like, if you think about it, it's very few people who actually do know what they want to do.
Yes.
Even
if you
2
go to-
years into college, I was like, I don't know.
Yes.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like at this point, am I gonna be a vet? Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Still in tights?
Serious, still
Am
dancing.
I gonna be a ballerina? Like, shoot, what's
Yeah.
next? But so then I was just like, I literally don't know. Am I just gonna stay at home? And then basically I went to this camp that I always go to every summer in Kona, Hawaii. And after that there was like a few people that I was like, these people are so awesome. Turns out, like literally a few weeks after, I get invited onto this tour, and it's actually, so the founder of YWAM is a Lauren Cunningham, and he challenged this guy named Asher Bird. He was like the leader of our team. He challenged him to go to all 50 states before he was 21, like Lauren did. And it was so crazy because actually Lauren was like, had cancer at the time, and he was like about to pass away. So he actually passed away last October. And yeah, and it was so cool because like it was so just divine to see God's orchestrated hand upon all of it, of like Lauren gave him this commission to go, and then like it literally happened. So he gathered the team, he chose just 4 of us, so it was a small team of 5. And then yeah, this time of year last year we just were planning it all out, and we launched January 17th 2024, and I got back in October, but it was amazing to see just what God has done. Even my parents' ultimatum was like, they're like, you're never doing this, because I asked them and I was like, they're like, you're never doing this. And I was like, no, like, please, like, you don't understand, I have to. And they're like, no. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to release it unto them. And, like, if they're going to say no, then it's a no.
Because you're still in high school during this time.
Yes. So I would have to be leaving. And we do a Jesus Club at my high school, so I'd be leaving leadership of that. There's just so many factors. And it was like, and then it was like, I can't not graduate. My parents were like, you're not getting your GED. Like, we're not doing this.
Okay.
Gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah, literally. And so I was like, shoot. And then the next day they came up to me. I kind of dropped it. And they were like, actually, Elly, like, we feel peace on this. And we
Wow.
want you to go if, like, your counselor says you can still graduate. And I was like, okay. But then I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to graduate. I go and talk to him. I'm expecting, like, an hour, like, meeting with this counselor. And it, literally in, like, 30 seconds, he's like, yeah, just do it online right now and you can finish it out and go.
Oh my
Whoa.
gosh.
It's like, and? Like, hello? Like, is there anything
Are you
else?
sure I should go? Like, what?
Literally, I was like, but then, yeah, I literally did school online while I was also still in school, and then I left in January.
Was the
Dang.
team, were you guys all the same age?
Yeah, I mean, like, probably ranging within, like, 3-4 years. I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
And real quickly, will you explain for people who don't know what YWAM is? And so that's a camp you would go to every summer. Is that what you said?
Yeah, so YWAM is Youth with a Mission, and it's a missions organization. And they have so many different schools there. There's the, like, primary school is a DTS, so it's a discipleship training school. And I've always wanted to do one since I was little. I still haven't, but yeah, that's what it is. And then every summer they'll have a youth camp, and it's like the craziest camp ever. I love it so much. And last year I was staffing it, or this summer actually. But yeah.
Dang.
And then explain kind of what that looked like. So you would go to each state and you'd share the gospel. Were you in like local churches? Did you have connection to these churches through, so you went through YWAM, or is it just like a group of people that you met through YWAM that you went on this tour with, right?
Yeah, because it was kind of like one-off.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a YWAM like school or anything.
Or
but it-
organization. It was like a
Yes.
couple of us are going to go do this mission.
Yes. And
Okay.
our like leadership and covering was YWAM, and they like covered us, supported us, and everything. But yeah, we basically went just to a bunch of different youth groups, even high schools, just gathered in the most craziest places, like construction zones, parks, like backyards, like all the craziest places. And we would just, what a night would look like is we would host a night where we would preach the gospel, but we would give a commissioning message. And then there would also be times of testimonies of what God is doing in the nations and what he's doing on tour on the road. And then also we would do time of prayer, and that would be like a prayer over the state, over our generation, that it would be a sending state. And yeah, that's basically what we did in a night. And then we would have an altar call after for activation to go.
That's amazing.
That's so cool. Is there, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things that stick out in your memory. But off the top of your head, is there anything specific that has stuck with you, a specific person or scenario that they were going through, or how you saw Jesus show up through them? I'm sure there's so many, but is there anything that like comes to the top of your mind?
Yeah, I feel like my favorite testimony to share is I was in Indiana, and there was this girl, and she came and gave her life to the Lord. She was at the altar, and she was just sobbing. I was going up to her, and I was praying for her, and then I was like, wait, like, I feel like there's something else we need to be doing right now. And I was like, what? Like, do you want to get free today? Like, what do you want to get free from? And then she stopped. She finally started talking, and she's like, I want to get free from anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts. And then she was like, and being addicted to drugs and alcohol. And I was like, dang, shoot, this is crazy. This is a lot. So then we pulled her aside, and we just started praying with her. And basically just breaking those things off of her life. And then I felt the Lord say, like, have her say who she is in Christ, and like tell her to ask me, the Father, like, who I say she is. Ooh. And so she begins to like just takes a moment, and then she begins to just weep again, and she's like, the Lord says I'm worthy to be loved. He says that I am like beautiful, and I am joy, and like all this stuff. And then she goes, and the Lord forgives me for what I did yesterday.
Wow.
And I was like, what did you do? And she's like, let me tell you what I did yesterday. And she was like, yesterday morning before a prayer set at like 4 a.m., she went to a park to find a tree where she could commit suicide in the future. And like she was like, but I feel completely set free. Like
goosebumps.
No, yeah. She's like, I feel completely set free, and like all this stuff. And then 2 months later, she like texts me, and she's like, I want you to know I'm still free from drugs, alcohol, depression, suicide. Like, and I was like, oh
praise
my gosh.
God.
That follow up, like I feel like is just like.
Yes.
Yeah.
It can happen in a moment, but
Totally.
It's like that follow-up of
Yes.
like, come on, Lord.
Oh my gosh, won't he do it, dude?
Yes.
Like that
That's
is
so
so
cool.
amazing. Okay, so 50 states, that took what, 10 months to do? That's a really long time. And before you went, I'm sure you've seen, God move so many different ways in your life and speak to you in so many different ways. Was there anything surprising in the way that you and him interacted during this 50 states tour? Like, is there any new experience that you shared with him that you hadn't experienced before? Does that make sense?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, so much. I feel like even going into tour, I was like, I'm not going to have my room to spend time with the Lord in. And I'm like, honestly, I had to break off so many entitlements of that, of just like, actually, I am sharing a room always. And like, I'm not going to have my room to just like scream like and pray.
Yes.
And, like, all that stuff, because I so cherish that. And that was like really hard. But like what was so sweet to me, and like literally I could even cry now just thinking back on it, is there would be like pockets of like places where we would go, like we would arrive somewhere and the Lord would be like, Ellie, like meet me there tomorrow. Just like a places like, like outside
some alone time.
Or, like,
yeah.
And just like different like things, or like, this is so funny and this is hilarious. But one time we came to this host house, and like I was just like not doing well, like just so worn out and like burnt out and just like
drained.
Absolutely.
It takes
drained.
it out of you.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely drained. And then I walk into this host room, and do you guys know Piglet in bed?
No.
It's like
pigs in a blanket. I don't know.
Bacon?
There's carnivore over it.
She got her mind.
I'm hungry.
No, but it's this linen sheet brand. Like I
Sounds nice.
But I see it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I think I literally started crying, because it's like my dream like sheets.
Okay.
Which is just so random. But it's like this pretty gingham and all that, and I
Cute.
literally was like, I'm gonna spend my mornings with the Lord here. And I did, and it was just like a sweet like love note to the Lord. And then there's actually like a love note like from the Lord in like a frame right next to it, and I was just like,
wow.
so it was like the littlest of the littlest things that
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh Lord, thank you.
I love when he just shows up in the details.
Yeah.
Like he knows that alone time with him, that's like how you've always like connected with him. And so the fact that, you're so busy, there's so much going on, but yet he's still found these pockets for you to go and meet him. That's really beautiful. And it's just it's for you. Like that was for you, Like he just, he knows what you needed. And yeah. So for our generation, you spoke on this a little bit earlier. It's like it feels like there's so much anxiety and depression. That was your message going around the states. How were you speaking on that? Because that's a message I would love for our listeners to hear from you. Because it's not something over a generation. That's something that can be broken. So will you just speak on that? What were you sharing to these young people that were like, well, I have depression, I have anxiety, there's nothing I can do? Like, how would you address that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, like, our target audience was, like, the lukewarm believer, and activating them into their faith on a daily lifestyle. So, like, we would always base it out of Matthew 28 of, like, going into all the nations, baptizing, preaching the gospel. And what was so neat about it is, like, we each had many testimonies on our team of like us personally coming out of like lukewarm Christianity and living a faith bolder than like we have ever before. And that's what it was all about, was commissioning them to go into their high schools, into their college campuses, into the nations to go preach the gospel. And I mean, one of the like things that was just wildly confronted in the room always was depression and anxiety and suicide. It wasn't necessarily anything we fully like went after, but it would always just come up to happen, like or that doesn't even make sense. It would come up like at the altar call, like there would be so many girls just being like, I deal with this, like this is holding me back, and we would go after that and like break that off of them and be like, no, actually you were made to preach the gospel, like you don't have to deal and suffer with anxiety. So I think it naturally like would come up in prayer times, and just knowing that like, and so much of what we would preach would be like, our generation is ripe. Like it is so riper than it's ever been. Like we are more connected than ever because we all have phones, which, you know, there's wins and losses on that.
Yeah.
But like we're so connected, and we're searching. Like our generation wants the real thing. They want the authentic thing, and they're tired of this sick, just, you know, the sick everyday religion,
Religious.
Yeah.
They're sick of it, and really they just want something real, and they want authenticity. And that's what we would lead our nights in so often, is just authenticity and just wanting to seek God. Because when we seek God, like literally, how could our hearts not be healed from anxiety and depression and suicide?
Right.
Yeah. I feel like it's in that lukewarm place that the enemy like wants to just keep you in, because it's like, you know, enough to know like, okay, I can cast my worries to the Lord, but like, he's not meeting me today. And like when you're not putting yourself in the position with hands open and asking the Lord, like there's so much power in what that girl did, was speaking what God says about her over herself. It's like we can pray for each other all day long, but there's so much power in our tongues too, and believing that those words are true. And it is so wild how and I think it's almost like preached isn't the right word, but it's like anxiety and depression are almost like a badge of honor that I feel like people wear, where it's like, oh, just an anxiety girly. I have an anxiety stomach. Like, oh, I'm just so anxious. I'm so anxious. And it's like, as powerful as it is to get out of it, it's just as powerful, like speaking it over yourself constantly.
Right.
And I think how powerful it is to think about the way we speak to ourselves and the words we say over ourselves. Like there's so much power in that. So I think it's so cool that the Lord put that on your heart, that she was like, no, I want to say this over myself.
So I know for me, when I went to Uganda, I did not feel qualified to go. Like I knew that it was going to take me surrendering everything in order to be super open and for the Lord to use me the way that he has planned to use me. Will you talk on that a little bit? Did you face any of that, feeling like, you know, this is a huge tour? Am I qualified? What do you think?
Oh my gosh. No, like so much. Like literally to the point where like this time last year I was like, do I even go? Like literally I would be crying in my mom's arms, and I'd be like, I'm not qualified to go. Like that's something that's kind of like for just like my life, like just when different opportunities have come up, like that's my mindset, is like I'm not qualified to go. And even on tour, like because I would preach a lot but when like I would like get off the stage after preaching or whatever, it literally became like, you know, like the cartoon like Angel and Demon. It literally became that, and it was like one is like trying to like just tear me apart. And like it would be this constant even like tug of war of like whose side are you gonna choose? Like are you gonna choose like the victorious like kingdom mindset, or are you gonna choose like to believe that you butchered that and like it's all about you,
or should have said that, or
and it's really all it's doing is building pride of like it's about me, it's always about me, like. And it was that constant like, and one time I literally like I felt that like tug of war, and then I just like silence went in my head, and it was the Lord being like, Ellie, like this is your choice now. What like lies are you going to believe? And it was just like, dang, like shoot. And I just realized then it was like, literally how foolish is it to even like come off this stage and even think thoughts about me?
Right.
Like my number one response should be like, Lord, what do you want to do right now in this room? Like, and just honoring him and glorifying him. And
Right.
it was like such a like learning curve of humility too, because it's just like insecurity, at the root of insecurity is pride. And it was just like every time I got off this stage, I would have those like prideful thoughts just trying to like pull me apart, being like, do better, be better, and all this stuff. And it was just like when I actually learned how to lean on the Father, and I was like, and then I just start to like laugh at myself, like when I'm like up there and I just butcher something, I just laugh.
Yeah.
And that creates vulnerability for the room too.
Yeah.
And like, but it was that beforehand, before going on tour, I felt so unqualified to speak. And then on tour, the same thing. But it was just like, if God called Moses and God made Moses's mouth, then like, how could Moses think, or how could I think that he couldn't use it?
Right.
And like that, literally that story got me through the whole like tour of like, he created my mouth, he created my heart, so he's actually going to use it.
Yeah.
And how foolish of me to say, oh, my mouth can't do that, when he's the artist, he's the creator of it. Like,
so powerful.
Yeah,
that
that's
was
so
like
good.
life-changing for me, and just dealt with so much unqualification.
Yeah.
But especially being around such like brilliant people.
Oh
but,
my gosh. Yeah. And I feel like when I put myself in your shoes, something that I battled was like comparison, like to the like people, oh, they're so much like more spiritually mature than me. And I had to play that battle of like, okay, what is the truth though? Like, who does God say I am? He put me on this mission for a purpose, and he's going to use that.
It's so relatable too, because I feel like when you are even in a church setting and you're sitting in the audience looking at someone preaching, you even still have that devil angel mindset looking at somebody where it's like, wow, they're so good. Instead of being like, Lord, thank you for speaking through them to me. Like, it's like we need to get out of our own way. And it's funny because then when you're the one on stage, you still have that, like, it's just very relatable. And I think it's such a good reminder to be like, literally shut up to yourself and to like the enemy's voice, and just like having that like kingdom mindset, like you were talking about, and just like, Lord, speak through them, like, and even praying for them on their behalf, while you're sitting in the audience, because I don't know, I think just having that posture of humility it goes so much further than when you try to do things perfect. It's like, I can think of so many times at church when like someone has like been like, well, that was weird, why'd I say that? And it's like, that sticks with me so much more than if they had done it perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Just be you, authentic, right?
Yeah.
And which I could see it being hard. Like, I put myself on stage, I'd be nervous, but again, it's just like surrendering yourself to the Lord and like, Lord, let you speak through me. Like, it's not about what I say, how good I say it, or how articulate and beautiful it sounds. I even struggle with that sometimes, like on the podcast. I'm like, ugh, that episode, I just sounded so rambly, but my message was so good. And it's because I was allowing the Lord to speak through me. Like, who cares how it's delivered? If it's glorifying him, then that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Right.
Come on, that's so good. And like even understanding like my words, I hope they like, fail. Like, I hope that my words go to dust, and what stands is like the scriptures. And it's like, if I spoke of the scriptures and I butchered the rest of the message, then hallelujah. Like, scriptures were talked about, he was talked about, and that's the whole goal. So yeah, exactly what you said.
I love that. Okay, so you're back from the 50 states tour. I want you to give us just like one thing that trip left you with now. Like, what is something that you're going to keep with you from that?
Yeah, I think honestly so much faith. Like, literally the Lord broke every box I've put him in, and it's just like even that testimony. Like, you hear about those things, but then when it actually happens, it's like, whoa, like what?
Like, this stuff still happens right in front of our face. Yeah.
Exactly. Just whoever's willing. And I feel like that's honestly what the Lord has taught me so much is like, are you willing? Like, are you willing to pick up the invitation of Matthew 28 or invitation to intimacy with him on a daily basis, and stewarding what's in front of you, stewarding the word of God and what it says and what it's speaking. And like, one thing that has really stuck with me that I've like collected over all the gatherings is like, I love women. Like, I love just helping, like, speaking into the little sister's life. And, like, you know, even that, the lady in Indiana, she was older than me. But it's, like, just the women who are just stuck in comparison. They're stuck in just, you know, all of the things that are so relatable and normal. And, like, I've been there so many times.
We all have.
Yes, exactly. And that's what my heart really burned for, was like, I just love the sisters, and like I want to see them.
I love that.
uplifted.
I do too. That's why you're on here.
I know.
We
I feel like we share a similar thing where it's like there's just nothing sweeter as a girl than like the connect, like the sister time, the sisterhood. And it's just, I think that's something with this podcast. Like Abby and I, as well as you, are the youngest in our family. And so it's fun to be able to like speak into other people's lives, whether they're older or younger, because it's fun to like get taught. But it's also like, you know what? God has given me something to say and a way to connect. And it's just,
And be a sister.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
It's so true.
So you said the camp you went to when you were younger every summer was YWAM, and that they have a DTS thing, which is a mission trip you can go on. And you had shared with me before that you are going to be going on one. And I know from other people who have gone, the missions trips look very different. And so will you explain to us what is the mission trip that you're going to be going on, or the DTS? What does this look like for you?
Yeah. So this one's actually very unique. It's actually the second school that they've done, but it's Brave Love. Have you guys heard of that?
Not really.
No, no.
Yeah.
Okay. So Brave Love is a women's organization. And basically it's all about championing. Gosh,
Championing.
literally cannot say that
Championing.
word.
Yeah, that's hard.
Rallying. Yeah.
Yes. Uplifting. Uplifting women in like biblical femininity. Oh my
No, you said it. That was good.
Come on.
Femininity.
No, literally. No, but it's all about like just uplifting women and like biblically and very like doctrine sound and all that. But it's like like a lot of other discipleship training schools where I'll be in Hawaii for 3 months, and just learning intimacy with God, and also just all the avenues of like knowing God. And then the whole thing is knowing God and making him known. So 3 months there, and then 2 months I'll be actually in the Pacific Islands. I don't know where yet.
Ooh.
But it's literally all women. Like it's just going to be me
Fun.
and several women. So talk about sisters.
Yes.
And that's like why like I chose Brave Love specifically, is I was like, I love YWAM just in general and all the schools that they have to offer. But I was like, this like Brave Love woman, like, and their whole thing too is they love to go to the widow, the orphan, and the alien. And it's like literally last year for their first school they went to Nigeria, I think it was, and they just washed like these mothers had seen like literally their babies killed, their husbands like killed, like just kidnaps, like the worst of the worst. And they were like, we honestly have nothing to offer. So they just got on their knees and washed their feet. And the women's literally all the women got set free. Like it was this whole thing of like, they were being served and like they got set free, not through like a crazy prayer, but like it was beautiful. So that like story alone, I was like, dude, that's what I want to do. So I'm like super stoked for that. I actually leave in like 2 weeks or something like that.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know it was so soon.
Yeah. So I leave January 5th. But
Wow.
And what does the funding look like for that? Are you all fully funded, or
yeah, so
how can a sister help?
I have like 5,500 left as of now that I know of. But yeah, so I have a QR code link that people can give.
Perfect.
There's monthly and there's like one time option, but yeah.
So your trip is going to be 3 months in Hawaii, and then how long in the Pacific Islands?
About 2 months.
2 months. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is a long trip.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're definitely going to have our listeners check out your link.
Yeah.
And we're definitely going to be praying for you, and our listeners are going to be praying for you. I'm really excited for you. Yeah, this is going to be really great.
Yeah.
These women, I'm excited for them to meet you too.
Do you know anyone else going?
I actually don't, which I
Ooh.
love. Like, I'm so excited.
Ooh, ah.
Ooh.
I'm so excited just to like be thrown into an atmosphere
Yes.
where I know nobody.
Yeah.
So I'm pumped, but
Not like
Yeah.
being uncomfortable is fun, but being uncomfortable, oof, it's like where I've grown the most, where the Lord really shows up. So
Yes.
I'm excited
Yeah.
for you to be uncomfortable.
thank you.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
And also send the sun this way. Like, so happy for you to go to Hawaii.
In the Pacific Islands.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
no,
insane.
Like, I better come back tan. Like,
Oh,
I'm
you
ready.
You
will.
will. Don't worry.
Well, Elly, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. You were the
course.
perfect guest to have on here. I'm so excited for our listeners to hear your story. And I personally feel touched by your boldness. And yeah, there's definitely things I'm taking notes from your story. So thank you so much for sharing.
Oh my goodness.
appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been such a fun time.
Oh,
Love you guys. We will see you next time. You can follow us on Instagram at She Means Well Podcast. Subscribe for Spotify and Apple and YouTube.
and YouTube. Yeah.
And send this episode to someone that needs to hear it.
Toodaloo.
Bye.
Bye.